Hello students, welcome to ePathshala. I am Dr. Nirupama Trahinpati from Institute of Liver and Biliary Sciences, Department of Molecular and Cellular Medicine. Today we are going to discuss the module Ethics in Biomedical Research, which is in the paper of Molecular Therapeutics. By studying this module, you will be able to know that how this module will benefit you in designing or imparting the information among the scientific community, including the graduates, postgraduates, students and researchers engaged either in the sponsored research or their own funded research. This module will provide awareness that what is ethics in animal, tissue, organ and the human research. It teaches you that what are the research misconducts and deviations. It also lets you know that awareness you need to generate in the protocol so that one can guard any misconduct happening in the research and it should follow the ethical norms. Ethics. Ethics word derived from the Greek name ethos, which means customize, to conduct a systematic study and decide what is wrong, what is right regarding the human action and behavior. It also deals with values, beliefs, and opinions. Ethical issues generally affect the decisions whether we need to use the living organisms in the research protocols or not. These guidelines tells you how you can use the human subjects or small animals or the large animals in your research protocols after following the ethical norms. Understanding of bioethics can give the benefits in designing these studies with living organisms, whether these are human subjects or animals. Establishment of guidelines. Earlier, the few trials were on the Declaration of Helsinki came in 1964. However, the Nuremberg trials came in 1945 and 47. After that, many advances in worldwide started in 1960s. Following the 1960s, Declaration of Helsinki came in 1964, followed by Code of Federal Regulation in 1974. The National Research Act and IRB came in 1974 as well. In India, the ICMR set up the guidelines in the 2000 and 2006. Motto of Declaration of Helsinki was that all products must be submitted to an ethics committee for review, which must be independent of the investigator, the sponsor, or any kind of undue influence. Bioethic Guidelines came in 1980 in India and the worldwide. Purpose of these guidelines was that biotechnology advancement led to outline the guidelines in India and what are those guidelines to protect the rights and welfare of human subjects, to conduct the research analysis, clinical trials and animal models, as well as the stem cell research, tissue banking, animal biotechnology and organ transplantation. So constitution of these guidelines were based on these kind of topics, that what kind of the research the researchers, students and in the industry it's going on. The Declaration of Helsinki states that all protocol must be submitted to an ethics committee for review, which must be independent of the investigator, the sponsor, or any kind of undue influence. Ethic guidelines in India was declared, followed by the declaration in the worldwide, and there was the initial review of the proposed research. It was found that the initial review is very important, any kind of proposed research. Regular monitoring of compliance, and also it is needed that these compliance should be independent, multidisciplinary and multi-sectorial. These guidelines also stress that there should be the institutional committees for all those conduct of the research. If the animal research is going on, then those committees that proposal should come in the institutional animal ethic committee. And if the stem cell research is going on in the institute, the institutional stem cell research committee should be constituted. And all those committees should be constituted in the institution where the research is going to happen. This module also teaches you that what is the purpose of research, how the research should be conducted, what will be the outcome of this research, how it will benefit the society or the individual, how it should be developed, and developing this useful knowledge through the research, it should be exploited, and it should be exploited to the research only, not to be exploited to the individual. This also impart that what is the right way to conduct the biomedical research. To make understand the concerned community by obtaining individual consent, right to abstain from participation in any unforeseen conditions. It gives the right to individual to ask any question during the study. It should be the written, audio and video consent formats at different situations. So this all kind of rights are given by under the ethics and under the guidelines of the biomedical research, that individuals should be given the consent either by audio or by the video or the written. There are 3 tenets of ethical research. These tenets of ethical research describes that respects for the person, there should be benefits to the person, and all the research should be justified, and these come under the justice. Critical review of the study to ensure its need and suitability is very important. It also teaches you how to keep the safety procedures while conducting the research protocols, and it should be conducted to the welfare of human subjects. It also ensures that both scientific content and the ethical aspects, and it reviews the whole procedure and the research protocol. Ethics in biomedical research and their guidelines. In this, they need to require to compose different committees. Each committee should have people with skill from science, legal background, social background, one person from medical and one person from non-medical background. At least committee should have 8 members, including chairman and the member secretary. These committees should be composed in the institution, and the 2 or the 3 peoples from the outside, especially the social and the non-medical people, should be outside. It is also found that chairman also should be external and not from the same institution. However, the member secretary can be from the same institute. There could be the alliances with the other registered institutional committees. If one institution is conducting the research but it cannot have the composition of the IEC, or they don't have the research laboratories in place in that institute, they can go to the other institute and they can establish the alliance with those institutes which they running the IECs. They should have the ability to conduct, but in the large institution, they should have the ability to alliance with already registered committees, to assist in the development of local bodies into the research community. Every individual who is conducting the research, they should have the professional ability and competence. Ethics guidelines and ethics in biomedical research generally see the ability of investigator as well as the ability of the institute. The investigator who is conducting the research should be trained and qualified. It should be known that if the person is conducting research in stem cell, it has the ability to conduct that research and it should be trained in the stem cell research. PI or the principal investigator should have the integrity and impartiality in their behavior. The conductance of research should be fair, honest, and in the transparent manner. All the scrutiny of all the documents related to the principal investigator or the research conducting by the committee with the legal advisor, and it should be administrative by another impartial body from the external institute, or the audit should be done through the third party, not from the same institution. There should be balance of risk and benefits of any research study. There should be minimum risk and benefits should be explained to the subjects who are recruited in the clinical protocols or the human subject research. In case of minor injuries or in any critical situation, there should be the provision for immediate medical attention, and in any kind of injury, there should be the suitable compensation or the ample compensation provided to the human subjects. That compensation should cover under insurance, and there should be the reimbursement to the human subject, or there should be revisiting in the protocol that whether these protocols are generating any adverse effects or not. These guidelines also give you the protection of the human subjects. They define that there should be minimum risk for the human subjects who are volunteered for the research purpose. There should be care and the caution in recruiting the human subjects in research protocol. If there are any adverse effects in the research, that should be given the impartial behavior to the human subjects. There should be provide the remuneration to study subjects. These guidelines also tells you that overall justice is very important. All the benefits to the human subjects which are inducted or recruited in the research protocol, they should be without any biasness of the ethnicity. There should not be any kind of biasness for the caste, for the income, and the human subjects should be recruited irrespective of social status, irrespective of their socially advantaged group, and if there is a lack of transparency in the protocol, that should not be conducted the research, and the human subjects should have the transparency for the research protocols for which they are recruited. Essential components of the guidelines are that participation of human subjects only if it is absolutely essential. If the research can be conducted on the animals, it should start from the small animals, either from the mice or from the rat. Only in the clinical subjects or the clinical studies, human subjects should be recruited, or if the animal or the mouse studies are being done, then only it should proceed to the human subjects. However, in some disease conditions, it is essential that human subjects should be participated. In that case, it should be participated by the human subjects in the research protocols. Now, when you conduct the research on human subjects, it is very important that all protocols certify the needs and the benefits provided to the human subjects. It should be certified that this research conducted on the human subject should give in the long run to the benefits to the human subjects. As informed earlier, there should not be any biasness on the human subject. There should not be any exploitation on the human subjects which are conducted. To inform the subjects about all potential side effects, it is very important that when they are the principal investigator recruiting the subjects, he should inform the human subjects or the subjects recruited in the study that there will be any potential side effect or the risk. If there are no risk, then also it should be informed that there is no risk in the study, and you can have the study in the study protocol, and they should be, all the study subjects should read the protocol and sign the consent forms. It should be also ensured to the human subjects that if there are minor side effects, those compensation or the ample compensation should be given to the subjects. If there is any accidental injury during the conductance of clinical or the conductance of human subjects research, then ample compensation should be provided to the subjects. This study, which is conducted on the human subject, should have supported them till the end of the study. From the recruitment till the end of the study, the support of the principal investigator, support from the funding agency, and support for the ample compensation should be provided to the human subjects. More important in ethic guidelines is privacy and confidentiality. It is very important that subjects who are inducted in the research protocol, they should be anonymous. Their name, their age, their sex and the disease should be not evident to any kind of written document, or it should be not reflected in any kind of the video or the audio consents. Their identities should be annotated, and it is responsibility of the principal investigator to maintain the confidentiality throughout the protocol and after even the protocol when it is available in the public. There should be transparency and accountability. Human subjects, if they are recruited in the research protocol, they should ask that do you have any conflict of interest? It should be open that there should not be any conflict of interest, and if they have it and they are not giving any consent to be in the protocol, they should not be inducted in the research protocols. It is also important that principal investigator maintain the permanent records of research and data, and those permanent records should be available for the 2 decades after the research. It should be documented, it should be stored nicely, then further another investigators can retrieve back those records and see the data. There are the responsibility of the principal investigator that different personals in the research should be assigned different responsibilities. That in the clinical research, there should be some kind of a medical personnel, there should be the one research personnel, and those 2 people have the different responsibilities or of having the research conducted on the human subjects. It is very important to know that what is ethics. Ethics word came from Greek ethos, that means custom. So customized guidelines are important for biomedical research. Ethics involves to conduct a systematic study, to decide what is wrong, what is right, whenever we are recruiting the human subjects and when we are conducting the research with the animals also. It also deals with values, beliefs, and opinions. Ethical issues always affect the decision for use of living organisms in the research protocols now or in the futures also. Understandings of bioethics can give benefits in designing studies with living organisms, with human subjects, or with small or the large animals. Ethics in simple terms is defined as norms for conduct that distinguishes between acceptable and unacceptable behavior. Although ethical norms are learned since childhood, at home, at school, religious places, however, it influenced throughout the life, impacted by various life experiences, which explain the large variations in interpretation of ethical norms among individuals. From 1932 to 1972, the US National Health Service conducted a research titled the Tuskegee Study of Untreated Syphilis in the Negro Males. This study was done on about 600 black Negroes, of which 399 Negroes had syphilis. Those participants were never informed that they were involved in any kind of research study, and their informed consent was also not obtained. Similarly, in the early 1960s, at the time of Second World War, unethical medical research was conducted over the prisoners, especially those who were vulnerable or terminally sick. Those were treated with obvious disrespect and exposed to significant risks of harm. Among these were the infamous project conducted at the Brooklyn Jewish Chronic Disease Hospital, in which elderly patients who had some disability were injected with live cancer cells, and it was also not clear that whether volunteers were provided with any consent forms and got signed from them or not. Therefore, in those circumstances in which it was unclear whether non-consent was sought or not, at the same time, in Willowbrook Home for Children with Mental Retardation, a study of infectious hepatitis C was conducted by jeopardizing the reputation of noble medical profession. In 1966, Henry Beecher article Ethics and Clinical Research in the New England Journal of Medicine reported 22 examples of misconducted clinical research topics which involved the suboptimal medical treatment given to human subjects. Such unethical incidents necessitated the dire need of some rules of regulation which can be imposed during any kind of medical or clinical research conducted. It was also important that how the animal research should be conducted, that researchers should not misuse the animals, and mostly research should be conducted in the small animals. All the results of the research protocols which have gone through the ethic guidelines should be displayed in the public through social media, through journals, through popular articles, or through the small articles in the newspapers. So students, let us summarize what we have learned in this module. Ethics in biomedical research are very important, and although these research are conducted in every institutes, in every university, or in any kind of the research industry institutions, these research are conducted. It is important to conduct the biomedical research using the ethical guidelines. Those research should be oriented to the benefit of the human society or benefit to the any kind of the trials in the animal research. Therefore, in all fronts of research, it is now mandatory to use national, international guidelines in the biomedical research. Earlier, as I discussed with you, that in the earlier era of 1932 to 72, there were the many protocols which was conducted unethically. There was no consent form from the subjects recruited in the research protocols. Their benefits were not explained to them, and in fact, those subjects were recruited in the protocol which were diseased or the weak, and those were tortured, and all the ethics were not followed in those kind of protocols. That's the reason in these protocols the ethical guidelines become important, and there was the generation of these ethical guidelines, and it should be followed with the every kind of the research protocol. It should be followed ethics in research either in the using animal or the human subjects. There should be method to review that what is the purpose of this research, what we are conducting, how this research should be conducted, what will be the outcome of this research, how it benefits the society or the individual or the institution. Developing the useful knowledge out of these research protocols should not be exploited. It should be benefit of the human welfare. Now, the purpose of research can be reviewed in the ethics committee. There are scientific and the non-medical and medical people are there, and they can give you the inputs to conduct the research purposefully. However, it is not mandatory that they will suggest you about your research and the scientific capability of that research. However, in many research protocols, they can give you the guidance that what should be the direct purpose of research to the society.